Hey everybody, this is Lizzie McKay with the Visionary Mindset, and you are on Visionary TV. And my guest today happens to be one of the most amazing people I know and an awesome friend, my brother from another mother, Nigel Franklyn. Welcome,
Hi,
Nigel.
Lizzie. How are you, baby?
I am doing fabulous. It's great to have you here. Nigel is known pretty much across the world as the Spa Whisperer. And he that says it all. I mean, really, he goes into these already amazing spas, correct me if I'm wrong, and makes them even more incredible. Is that
And non-existing spas.
and non-existing? Yeah.
I've progressed. I've progressed to building.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, right.
So, where are you right now?
I am at Clinique La Prairie in Switzerland,
Oh, that's beautiful.
in the little town of Montreux, right by the Lake Geneva. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
really, really difficult place to be, right? I'm sure it's
Yeah,
nothing beautiful
yeah,
about
it's hard.
it.
It's hot today, but I prefer it here in the winter. I've been coming here on and off for a couple of years for this big project we're doing, but I prefer the winter.
That's great.
I wish I could show you my view right now. It's nothing but beautiful Alps, green Alps.
So it is summertime there too?
Yep.
Nice and hot. So
35 degrees.
tell me a little bit about how you became to be known as the Spa Whisperer, and what does that mean?
Well, I started out my life journey as a journalist, and I went to write for the opening of a spa in just outside Atlanta in Georgia, and I had this experience with this therapist, and I remember everything that she said. I remember everything that she did. I remember the clothes she wore, the hair. She lived in the house she was born in. Her name was Margaret, and as you know, my dog was named Maggie after her. But I was there to write about the treatment. But I had such an moving experience with her. I don't remember the treatment, but for the first time in my life, I felt safe and wanted. It was really emotional. So I decided that I wanted to give that to the world. So I joined the spa industry, started to be a therapist, and then I became a consultant because I realized I was one person and I needed an army of therapists around the world who were all giving this feeling of safety and wanting to other people. So, and it's, I work on a very kind of emotional, instinctive basis. So it has just organically grown into this kind of global organization. I mean, the Spa Whisperer is everywhere.
Wow. So did you have education for this, or was there already people doing this, or did you create this?
I created this, as you know, from the articles on me. Yeah, there's no one doing this. I mean, it sounds arrogant to say that, but I mean, I work on it. It's instinct, and it's unorthodox, and it scares people, and it's, especially when you're working on the level that I work. I really work with the world's top resorts and spas. So, they didn't get that way without pretty decent structure. And then here I come blowing the structure apart. And it was difficult in the beginning, but, now they kind of welcome that kind of chaos.
Well, from chaos, beautiful things are born.
Absolutely. I say this, I'm not trying to make anything perfect because humanity does not live in perfection.
Right.
So for me, keeping things organic and everything that comes with that, I want people to have real experiences, not robotic experiences.
Yeah. You want it to feel individualized and focused on that person, like nobody else in the world matters but that person.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm in the business development business, but my business happens to be spa. And I have found a niche where I can turn emotion into revenue. That sounds a pretty mercenary, hideous thing to say, but that's the business I'm in creating environments where people have these emotional, vulnerable moments of surrender, and I've made that a successful business model.
Well,
I don't know how, but I have.
A lot of it, I think, is your passion. The passion that you have, you bring that passion. And when you bring that passion to somebody, and an organization can see and hear and feel that passion, they're going to be on board.
It's infectious.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah. It takes an inspired person to inspire other people, and that's a very easy process. And I'm this. I'm connected to this journey 100%. And I live this journey. It's
right.
organically who I am.
Right. Well, as far as for other entrepreneurs that are out there and they're thinking, everything's been done. All I'd be doing is, if I start a business, it's just going to be following in somebody else's footsteps. But you have created something that did not exist. You created an opportunity for yourself that did not exist. And, it's had, repercussions, a domino effect within the spa industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
I remember a lot. I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years, and it really, the change has been as early as kind of 6 or 7 years ago, where it just really just kind of catapulted. And I was always uncomfortable about selling this process to people to try to get on property. And now obviously I don't have to. And it's made life a little easier, and it's, potentially a little less challenging, but I get a lot more access to people.
Right.
And that's what this is about for me.
It's about the people. It's this past week, several of the other guests that I've had on my podcast have been having that same thread. The thread that has been, unified with all of them is people, putting the people first. It's not about the money. It's putting the people and the experience and, putting yourself into that to help others.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the world is in a pretty crazy place right now. And, I have this idea of stability that I feel like I can bring, whatever it is. I mean, it's, whether it's just hope or something. Mm-hmm. My specific need, and the thing that drives therapists to therapy, is this innate desire to nurture and heal people, and you put those therapists in a corporate environment, in a corporate spa, and they become little corporate robot therapists. Right. And I love this idea that I break them out of the box. I remind them of the thing that drove them to therapy. And the world seems a little less chaotic for them, because they they can feel their roots, they can see their roots. And it's
right. You brought them back to what brought them into the business in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's very specific. I mean, but therapy isn't a job. It's this need.
Right.
As much as I need to do this. I mean, I feel like they see themselves in that and respond to it really, really well. Yeah. It's all fluke. It's all fluke and luck. You find. I was in Australia a couple of years ago, and I was in Australia a couple of years ago, and I was filming something, and I was in the outback, and I was an old Aboriginal woman, and I just was really interested in her life. And so we had this conversation about her life. And I said, so what is your secret? And she said, Nigel, here's the secret of life. Find what you're shit at and don't do it. And I've always
that's perfect.
Yeah. Just find what you're shit at and don't do it. And, and I think, God, I'm shit at a lot of things, but not this.
Right.
And, yeah. And
right. That's part of with my business, trying to focus people's attention on what it is that drives them and what their true desires are. So everybody that works with me has to do, a define your vision workbook. Some people don't like to do it, but too bad. If you don't figure out what it is that you want to do and then kind of, go from there, you're going to be working a job.
And that's it.
That's a different thing. Job and loving what you do, they can be the same thing, but
yeah, look, some of the articles about me in Business Insider, the man living his dream. No, that was Yahoo, but in the Business Insider, the people living their dream, when I was number 4, and it was, but the company I kept in this group of 15 people in Business Insider, there was a guy that played poker on the beach in Mexico, somebody who tried hotel beds for a living. These people had found this kind of dream, mine's a little more kind of business focused than that. But it's, the dream is still there very much.
Right. I love that. So since you've been doing this, it's been about 15 years, you've had some highs and some lows. What is your very highest achievement, I would say? And then tell me kind of your lowest low and something that just kind of, you thought, damn, what am I doing this for? And then what brought you back?
Well, I have, it's a difficult question. I can tell you, my life is fortunately full of highs. When I work with, when I work with therapists and bring them out of this dark space, and they thank me. That for me is a high. When I create a spa where people come in, and I've created retreats in my life where people go there after a divorce and after like women's retreats. They go there after chemotherapy, and to be surrounded by that is knowing that you had a part in offering a safe space. That's a high for me. I always know how much I love my dog, and when I understand why I'm away from her, then that's a high.
Yeah.
I had in Australia, Woorgan Valley, 7-star resort in Australia in the outback. Is fabulous. But I worked on developing the spa there and worked with these therapists. And there's this one therapist, and she I think again, if she ever sees this podcast, she already knows I'm talking about her. And she worked with her a lot, and she was really kind of redefining her, just a spa with the world, but in her little personal space. And we had a lady come into the spa, and she had lost her husband and her son, and she had just been diagnosed with cancer. And pretty much the universe had just thrown everything it had at her.
Goodness.
And this therapist took her to a treatment room, and afterwards in the relaxation lounge, and I walked past the relaxation lounge, and she was sitting outside with the guest, and the therapist was on her knees holding the guest's hands, and they were watching the sunset go down. And I stopped and I took a picture of that moment, because that moment is exactly the picture I have in my heart. It's that.
I got goosebumps.
But when I see that moment, that's what the inside of my heart looks like. And when I get it. I get why I'm away from the people I love. I get why I'm away from my dog. I understand everything, because I get to experience moments of just purity and giving, and it's a connection. It's a blessing, man.
Connection.
It's all about the
human connection. Without that, what are we doing? And there's so many people who don't understand that.
It always reminds me of that Maya Angelou quote, which I will probably get wrong now. People will always forget what you did. People will always forget what you say, but they will never forget how you make them feel.
Right.
I think I may have bastardized that a bit.
I know which one you're talking about. It's pretty close. Yeah, it's about how you made them feel. Who cares about all the rest of it? It's like right here, because we as human beings, we are emotional creatures. We're pretty much the only ones that are. Although I see that in my animals, but I don't know. Other people say otherwise. But
I mean, you know that. I mean, the times you and I have been around each other, it's just been a love fest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much love to give, and people just, we have a beautiful world, but sometimes I think that people have stepped back, and it's not organic, like you're saying.
Yeah.
They're not having those moments. It's all computers and phones and, videos.
Yeah.
It's not the actual human connection where we're touching, feeling, and putting our heart and soul into another person.
And and I feel really, blessed. I feel like my life is a complete freak accident, because somehow I've taken all of that and I've made, I own 2 companies, and it's crazy how this is taken off. And I think that's just kind of indicative of what the world needs.
Right.
If there wasn't the demand for this kind of activity, this kind of love, this kind of motion, then I would be sitting here talking about my job in McDonald's, I'm sure.
It does seem that heart-centered, there is kind of a revival, so to speak, of heart-centered businesses. So, that's what I would say, your business is. It's heart-centered. It's around the people. Yes, you're going into a corporation and you're doing your magic on that spa, but you're really doing the magic on the people within the spa.
I'm sorry, you phrased that. I didn't get that. What did you say?
I said, really what you're doing is, even though you're going into a corporate environment, you are actually going in there and taking the people and, bringing them out.
But that is what is working so well with these corporate, I work a lot with Four Seasons, and I'm on resorts. I mean, these are, so, yeah, and I often you go into these environments and it's hospitality, but they're so corporate driven. They're the antithesis of hospitality. And spas are different. Hotels often treat their spas like they're in the hospitality industry and in the service industry, but we're not. We're in the spa industry, and that's a completely different culture, and it should be given completely different standards and protocols. So, it's when I go into a spa and we do this kind of development work, and the problem is, spa people, we talk emotion. Yeah. Business people, they talk numbers. And in the middle are people like me who have to translate emotion into the numbers, into revenue. And it's just a much more, everybody wants this super successful spa, but they don't want to push. They don't want the guest, to feel in any way that they've been sold anything. But then they don't do anything about that journey. They don't develop the therapists. They turn them into these little robots. And the response, revenue wise, emotional wise, experience wise, when I go into a spa, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, one day I will be there at least one, if not hopefully many other different spas that you've been at. So that's one of my life goals, bucket list for sure. So, hey, so where is the most exotic place that you have worked since you've been the Spa Whisperer?
Exotic? I would say in the Sulu Sea in the Philippines, in the Palawan Islands, I have a little spa there. It's not a little, it's Amanpulo, and it's probably the closest thing to a Robinson Crusoe island I've ever been to. I mean, it's remote, and I love going there because I love the feeling. I think sometimes when you feel so connected to the different energies and vibrations of the world, it's good to go and feel isolated. And I enjoy that when I'm there. I enjoy that. I enjoy the isolation and with the vulnerability that comes with that, because I don't feel connected to anything but just, the universe, really, the beach and the fish and whatever exotic cocktail I have in my hand. So that's Amapulo, definitely. I mean, that's exotic in the literal sense, but one of my favorite places ever is another Aman in Venice. For me, it's a 14th century palazzo that was renovated, and we did a beautiful little spa. I mean, it was fabulous.
I remember seeing the pictures. It was drop dead gorgeous. It was
but it's wonderful, and that's actually the reason I like it so much, because we were renovating the palace, and that everybody was there. There was no one really staying there, but I was there because I was doing the spa and I needed somewhere to stay, and I got to sleep in this 14th century palace at night all by myself. And every night I'm with the camera trying to catch a glimpse or something.
I remember.
Do you remember this?
Yes, I'm sure that on my old phone the pictures are still there. So.
Yeah. And it's just stupid stuff like that I feel really excited that I was able to do.
Yeah, you've done something that nobody else has been able to do, all because you took the initiative to change your life and create your own dream.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, but my dream wasn't necessarily travel. My dream wasn't necessarily luxury. When I'm home in San Francisco, my friends will tell you, I refuse to go anywhere with tablecloths. I just don't want it. But it's kind of this kind of indirect result of the core.
We froze.
Passion for me to create spaces of surrender, and it's and it just, there's no reason it's luxury. It just that's the way it turned out.
Yeah, that's amazing. What would your best advice be to an entrepreneur who's contemplating either starting their own business or just going out on their own?
I will tell you, when I started doing this, I became very close to the owners of the skincare company, and they kind of really helped me, put me in charge of developing a lot of the spas in the US that they had, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no plan. I'm not qualified for this mess. I'm like, and so I said that to them, and they said, Nigel, just try everything. The worst that we're going to tell you is don't do that again.
Right.
Yeah. And I really don't, that was the best piece of advice. I got to play in this unknown arena. I got to make mistakes, and I wouldn't have made those mistakes out of fear. But when I got the permission to make the mistakes, they were no longer mistakes,
Right. So you're saying that you go out and you just try it.
Try it.
I
mean, just try it.
What's the worst that can happen?
You end up traveling the world in luxury spas.
I think I'm changing things over right now.
Yeah.
Try some things today.
Yeah, but I think also you need to identify your intent.
Right.
And intention is the key, because that will drive you, that will drive the results, the energy that's around it. I mean, if there's purity of intent, I think that exaggerates the success.
Right.
It's not, I always say a good therapist knows massage, a great therapist understands massage. And knowing how to do something isn't necessarily important. It's knowing why.
Right.
Why does that happen? And so I think, the emotional part, the understanding, that's the why of life. And I think why is really important. But I focus on your intent, and then everything else is just frosting.
Yeah, it'll just come in. So I continually tell people, if you've got an idea, go for it. Don't sit around for 6 months to a year trying to plan it out, because by then somebody else is in there.
Yeah, of course. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that even the name the Spa Whisperer would have gone untouched had I not taken it. I mean, there's, yeah.
Right.
So
Exactly. I mean, have to take that initiative and get things rolling. And one of the things that, I've been working on is my, holding back and not putting things out. And it's been over the past couple of years, and literally about a year ago, I think maybe a little bit longer, I myself had to just say, okay, just start putting it out. Just get your stuff out there. And somebody else had given me that advice, said, just don't wait till it's perfect. Just get it out there. And so once I started doing that, it was like, okay, this worked, this didn't work, so I won't do that again. But wow, this worked, and this worked. Hey.
Yeah, but you're also one of the most industrious people I've ever known. I should be interviewing you for this. Yeah.
I don't know. I like being on this end of it, so it's kind of fun being able to ask the questions and just enjoy. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Books. What about any books or audiobooks or videos or something inspiring that you're reading or taking in right now? Anything?
I am currently reading again Shantaram by Gregory Roberts. Mm-hmm. Awesome book. It's really, really big. I read it before, and then I bumped into Gregory Roberts at the gym at the Four Seasons in Mumbai. And yeah, we didn't work out, and we sat and we had this. This book is a real spiritual journey for this guy. He broke out of jail in Australia and then went to India, and it's just beautiful. And but it's a heavy read. Anyway, we sat at the gym and we had the most intense conversation of my life. And he was part of this organization called The Village, because this organization believes that, in ancient times, the world consisted of little villages, and each village had an elder. But now, because of the internet and there are none of these kind of like pods of people with that kind of elder structure. So there's this organization called The Village where they are the elders, and it sounds weird, it's cultish. There's lots of famous people on this committee, and they kind of put forth things into the world. It's a beautiful conversation. I just absolutely fell in love with this guy. But anyway, whenever I feel now that work is getting too crazy for whenever I feel like I'm just kind of losing the vision a little bit, I take it back to a real basic part of who I am, which is that idiot sitting in bed reading a book. And it's always silly books. I'll read anything by David Sedaris. So
yeah.
But it has to be a book.
I love it. I know. I love the feel of a book. I have audiobooks just because I'm so busy, but I still have a stack of books sitting next to my bed. I don't always get to crack them open, and then, I've got tons of books sitting around here, and then, I get my little...
But listen, we're the same. I'm old school. Like, you want to see my calendar? It's right here. It's like, I'm old school. One of the things in lots of my spas in Southeast Asia, when you go into the reception, they're opening this beautiful leather bound, and they're writing in pencil.
Oh, I love that. That's just reminds me of Humphrey Bogart days, or back in the day.
It just, and I think because when you create an office environment or an admin environment, you lose a lot of the grace in the world, and specifically in my industry, you lose a lot of the grace in spas.
Yeah.
And it's just such an elegant thing.
And I've seen so many beautiful pictures of the locations of many of the different spas, and they are just so inviting.
Yeah.
I probably would be that once I get there, you would have to drag me out. You'd be like,
well, they practically have to drag me out. But it's a big mistake. I see this a lot, which is why I've got more into the design and the build out now. where spas have been designed structurally and in interior design by people who have simply not gone into a spa before in their life.
Right.
And so, and so you have a very one-dimensional treatment, but you don't have a multi-dimensional experience because the energy is not right, or it doesn't take chime music and a water feature. Spas are a lot more complex than that.
Exactly.
Because the idea is that people, my favorite word, the idea is people surrender, and unless the intent is there, if that's the space, then it's very difficult. You go into some spas and the reception is beautiful reception, a huge reception desk, and they're sitting there invariably in some Asian themed uniform, and it's just, it doesn't give itself to the very nature of what a spa experience should be. It's all very service,
Yeah. Oh,
I love my industry.
I think it's amazing, and I think you're amazing, and I am so thankful that you accepted my offer to
always.
Dude, it was so much fun, and I just want to tell my listeners that I will put a link for the book that he has talked about, and if you want to follow the Spa Whisperer, I will put all of his links for social media, and you can follow his amazing adventures all across the world.
I'm a newbie to Instagram, so I'm completely taking advantage of this new social thing that I have. So the Spa Whisperer on Instagram, I've become an immediate photographer. It's amazing.
And you're actually doing pretty darn good at your photography.
Yeah, the one. Did you see the photographs I took at the Four Seasons in Florence last week?
Oh yeah.
Even the hotel are using those pictures. Like the Spa Whisperer, the photographer whisperer.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, okay. Well, I do want to go ahead and say thank you again for being here, and thank you to our listeners. And if you could please share our podcast, and give us a rating on iTunes, we would love it. And until next time, be visionary. Thank you.